your name is Michelle,
Mhm.
and you are a publicist.
Yes.
Give me more about that. 'Cause publicist is a very broad term.
So I specifically work in women's health, beauty, and wellness, general wellness, sexual wellness, the whole scope of wellness. Um, do you want me to explain like what a publicist does?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So,
I don't even know.
so, so it's different than a publisher.
Okay.
People mix that up all the time. So I essentially work as the liaison between the media and my client and or the brand that I am doing the PR for. So I arrange for interviews with my experts or the CEOs or the founders of the companies that are my client. Um, I work across traditional media, which would be, magazines, which is really dying. Digital media, so what you read online, podcast, broadcast, all of that. So I'm kind of the one that is arranging a lot of the stories that they tell, the experts that the media interviews, the people that you see on like the Today Show, NBC News Now, Good Morning America. Podcasts obviously are becoming huge because I think traditional media is really starting to die. So a lot of my clients are doing a lot of podcasts because it's more independent and people have more control over the topics that they're talking about. And then now we're also doing a lot with Substacks.
What are Substacks?
They're sort of like, I guess you could say like newsletters-ish. You subscribe to them. A lot of journalists were laid off in the past year or two. So instead of trying to go back into your traditional media, they started their own, which are Substacks.
Okay.
And it's a really great way to get the narrative out there and have news in an independent way. A lot of them have like a video component as well. So it's like, they're kind of like podcasts,
Okay.
but so working with those journalists as well. And that's really, and then I do some social media, mostly my team arranges that with like helping with content and development, arranging for clients to be content creators themselves, really helping them sort of craft what they're pushing out to the general public.
And you specify in like reproductive health of women and you said like sexual wellness.
Yeah. So specifically, I work in women's health. A lot of it has to do with fertility and all that entails, and gynecological, OBGYN. Obviously, right now, that is a really hard field to be in, but I feel like now more than ever, when our general reproductive rights are on the line, women's health is being largely erased from the internet. It's really important that I'm there to push out the narratives and to really push my experts to the forefront so that people can combat misinformation and have, access to care. And then the other part of that, I do sexual wellness, which would be, your run-of-the-mill vibrators, dildos, butt plugs, all that stuff, as well as, lubricants, really just like anything involving kind of sex. And sexual wellness. And with that also is a lot of those brands are entering into the kind of menopause space because of what happens with menopause, vaginal dryness, all that fun stuff. And that now is largely getting, blocked. Publications are getting flagged for being porn. Content creators or brands are getting shadow banned on the internet, largely because of this kind of return to conservatism that this country is undergoing. So again, I also want to be there for brands like that. To help because sexual wellness, it is wellness. It is health. It's largely women's health. Having a healthy sex life really affects your mental health, that it can affect your physical health, all of those things. It's not porn.
Yeah.
So,
Wild.
not that there's anything wrong with porn.
No.
But these brands are getting really targeted in a terrible way. Not to mention what tariffs has done because most sex toys are produced in China,
Mm.
largely because, well, obviously it's cheaper. They have the technology to develop them. Also, a lot of countries, like say Bangladesh, you cannot, because of religious laws, cannot develop sex toys there. So these tariffs with China have really caused massive problems for these brands, which is terrible because sexual wellness and women's health overall by 2030 will be a 300 plus billion-dollar industry.
That's crazy.
So to kill that
Yeah.
would be a big problem for our economy.
Hmm.
So there's a lot that goes into it. People really don't understand it and think that it is obviously, like I said, porn.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's obviously there's a component of that is pornography. But largely it is health, it's wellness, it's good for our economy. So being able to craft those narratives and help those brands get out there, we're really having to get more creative, kind of higher touch, really just finding ways to navigate the kind of blocks that are getting in front of these brands because it's important that they exist.
Definitely. And how did you get into that? Was that like oh, I really care about women's health, so I want to figure out how to work in that sector? Or were you doing PR originally and you just like fell into it over time?
Well, so the sexual wellness, I sort of fell into uh, because of a brand. It's a really well known brand called Dame.
Okay.
Alex and her co-founder at the time, two women. One was, sexologist. The other was an engineer. Two women making sex toys for women,
Hmm.
and nobody would touch them. They knocked on so many doors, and people were like, "Oh, "We're not doing PR for sex toys," and got connected to me. And I was like, "Wait a minute, two women who actually know what they're doing in this space that could make vibrators and just sexual experience with integrating toys, making them for women by women. That I'm sold. I'm in. I want to do this." And that was kind of like my foray into that
Mm.
was working with them, convincing publications to cover them because back then every publication was like, "No way, we're not covering sex toys." And the next thing you know, like they were on the cover of Wired with a beaver holding a vibrator. Like it just really cool stuff. And like Vogue was writing about them, Allure, all the big New York Times. And that kind of brought me into the kind of sexual wellness world. It wasn't even called sexual wellness then. It was just, you did PR for sex toys. And one thing led to another, and it kind of really opened my eyes working with brands like Bloomy, Momotaro, Pothica, which is like not sex toys at all. It's really for vulva vaginal wellness.
Mm.
Bloomy does like a cross of both of it. Now I work with Plus One, which is like one of the largest purveyors of sex toys, but they're kind of furthering out into the space and developing things more for, like menopausal, they have like breast massagers and stuff like that. Like they're doing a lot and they're very accessible. You can get them in places like CVS and all over Amazon and Target, and they're super high quality, but a really low price point, which is
Yeah.
like great. So that's kind of how I got into that.
And did you make that choice to take them on as a client, or were you working for a parent company that was like, okay, we want them?
With Dame specifically, no, the owner of my company at the time didn't. He was like, "No," and I was like, "We're doing this." So that was kind of how I got into the sort of sexual wellness
Mm.
world, and it is blown up. I mean, we're talking. This was like 20, 2010, 2011, 2012, something around there. It was a long, over a decade ago, when I first started with it. So things are obviously very different now.
And so I asked you like earlier on how much you make as a PR, and you said a lot more than most people in PR. Is that partly because of the sex toys and the sex industry that you just like got lucky and it took off?
No way, no. My company is set up differently. Obviously, I have my base salary, but they really encourage people to be producers and to bring in new business. So we have a commission structure.
Okay.
So the clients that I bring in, I get a commission from that retainer every month in perpetuity as long as they're a client, which is great. It really rewards you and makes you feel like a true part of the company. Because you're helping to grow and build the business. So that's why.
That makes sense.
Yeah, not a lot of agencies do that. Or they'll give you like a finder's fee or like 2 months of commission or something like that. It is a really entrepreneurial structure at my company that I'm currently at. So I definitely make more money, I would say, than most publicists. But I'm kind of at that top tier,
Yeah.
like that SVP, managing director level. So I would be making a lot anyways, but I would say I make more than most people because of the structure.
How much does an average publicist make?
Depends. Starting out, I don't even know what the going rate is anymore. Maybe like 50, 60K. I don't know.
Didn't you say you started out with 27?
$27,000
That's
a year.
crazy.
That's like, wow. It was okay. So it was also 2005.
Yeah.
It was 20 years ago, but still $27,000 a year was like poverty line.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that is, yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Wild. Mid-level, talking like account directors, VPs, 100, 150, depending. And then, going on from there, like 200 plus. It really depends, obviously. So the structure is going to be different. And largely the structure is different across companies.
Yeah.
Some places pay a lot more, some places pay a lot less. It just depends.
And so how did you get to your current company? Like what led you there? Have you always worked for them? Or since you were
No, I've
your
been
27
there
career?
almost no. It's been almost 3 years.
Okay.
Actually the woman who is like the head of HR, I think her title is like chief people officer now, something like that. But I knew her from her old company, and she and I got to talking, and we're actually looking. The company I'm at now they really specialized in like financial services, investor relations, that sort of thing, ad tech, healthcare, and they really were wanting to get into that more consumer beauty, women's health and wellness sector. And so I met with them, the partners. I discussed what I could do, and that was that.
Oh. So
It's
they said they had a specialization. And they were like, okay, we're going to take you on because you
Yeah.
specialize.
Yeah.
Cool.
But and you asked me before too. So I only touched on why I got into sexual wellness, but the women's health, obviously beauty is totally different. I just love beauty, skincare, all of that stuff. It's my favorite thing to talk about, my favorite thing to do in my free time. Like it's great. I've been doing beauty for like 8+ years at this point, probably even more. But with the women's health stuff, I actually struggled with secondary infertility. And that really propelled me into understanding women's bodies and understanding, reproduction. And then obviously also I am a feminist at my core, and I am really, can I curse?
It's not sure.
I'm really fucking pissed that our country is stripping away our reproductive rights.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing everything I can to push out as much content and expertise and knowledge in the women's health space, because I just don't want to see us go back to the dark ages.
Yeah.
And that's where this country is headed. For a country that is so hell-bent on babies, we are doing everything we can to make it impossible for people to want babies, from a financial standpoint, from a health standpoint. I mean, we are literally like a third world country with maternal demise.
Mm.
Women dying, having babies because they're refusing to save you,
Yeah.
or they're doing what they did to Adriana Smith, and she was, for all intents and purposes, dead, and they kept her alive as an incubator
Mm.
so that she could have a baby. That's terrible.
Yeah.
We can't do stuff like that. So that's my mission there.
And do you find that do you see the impact of your work at all? Or is it just like you hope through like the work of it that people are impacted by it?
I do. I see the impact. I see what people comment on, my experts' social media, especially like, Dr. Lucky Seacon is a client of mine. And she is doing the work in terms of fertility and getting people to understand all that it entails. And I see the people that and the women that she touches and helps, right? I am seeing, other experts that I work with just really being able to help women find alternative ways of getting their medication, like that sort of thing. It's really it's so important. And it really, I see it helping people, women that are trapped in red states,
Yeah.
that don't have access to anything, that their doctors are afraid to even talk to them. At least they can turn to my experts in social media or in the articles that are being written about them, or have them speaking in. It really, I think it's really helping people as much as we can in this climate.
That's really cool. It's almost like your job is helping spread correct information, helping people get the resources they need for if they're in a troubled situation where maybe, they couldn't turn government or policymakers to necessarily get those resources.
Yeah. And it's honestly, now there are more doctors getting involved in politics, as they should. Like, lawmakers should not be arbitrarily creating laws about medicine or women's bodies or anything like that when they have no idea. I mean, there's these like that one idiot in Louisiana who thought that you could have an ectopic pregnancy and just take the fetus out of your fallopian tube and implant it into the uterus. That's literally not a thing. That doesn't happen. And they're making laws.
Yeah.
And now there are doctors that are getting involved in politics and running for Congress. And I think it's amazing. And I think largely a lot of it is due to what I do and what publicists like me do, really, putting health experts front and center to talk about things and encourage them to speak out. So I think, yeah, I think what I'm doing is good. It's not enough. It's never enough. At the end of the day, what I do is a business.
Yeah.
I have to make money. I wish I could just take on everyone for free and do this, but like that's just like not realistic.
Yeah, definitely. It makes a lot of sense. And so how did you when you started out in PR, was that a goal? Like, were you like, I'm going to actually go and like change the world through PR, or like I'm going to help people, or was there a completely different motivation?
No way, no. Actually, I wasn't even going to do PR. I was wanted to be a journalist.
Okay.
And when I graduated, it was like a weird time. It was 2005. Media, funny, 20 years later, media was in trouble back then. I got a job at the now defunct Village Voice.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, you wouldn't. But it was like a big local New York paper.
Okay.
Paid even less than the first job I ended up taking. It was like $23,000.
That's crazy.
And I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I actually met with, a journalist who, had become kind of a mentor to me.
Okay.
And she was like, listen, she's like, you're a good writer. You're not great.
Oh my God.
She's like, but you're really good with people. And you really do know how to, tell a story and really, really figure that out, and pull it out of people. She's like, have you ever thought about PR? And I was like, I looked at her as like Samantha Jones on Sex and the City. Like that was the only like foray into PR I had ever even heard of. And I was like, yes, I could do that. And so I started applying for PR jobs. And I got my first job at Rubenstein Communications, working in entertainment.
Okay,
Well,
wow.
like wildly different. Like I was doing like the Tribeca Film Festival and red carpets and stuff like that. So totally different. Um, was not, helping anyone, like just not doing anything that's like, changing the world. Not that PR, is doing that. People, we say this all the time when our clients are like freaking out and people are taking it so seriously. It's like, it's PR, not ER. We're not out here saving lives. But we are out there to help spread information and combat, like I said, misinformation. Not all publicists do that, as we saw with like the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively stuff. Our powers can be used for evil.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I try not to. Um, but yeah, like I worked in entertainment, then I went into fashion, lifestyle, food and beverage. I art.
Okay.
I worked with like Christie's Auction House for a while and a bunch of art galleries. But now like, women's health, wellness, and beauty, that's where I want to stay essentially. It's what I like the most, especially the women's health stuff. It's really important to me.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's really interesting that you like started, I don't know, it was like almost like a mentor came to you and was like, you let me like push you in another direction. But it's cool that you ended up at first, I guess you're doing things that are really superficial, like entertainment and like fashion, but you ended up in this more like impactful sector. And how did you make that switch? Like when did that change? Like was that after you're struggling with fertility or like I'm just gonna make that change? Or was it like a buildup of like getting out of maybe these more, maybe you could even say like evil sectors? You're like, oh, I might be having to swing something I don't want to.
I mean, I kind of just started. I mean, the beauty, I kind of was always like doing beauty PR in smaller ways or on different accounts, or like, especially like when I was like working with like, I do a lot with aesthetics, plastic surgeons and stuff like that. A lot of them have like skincare lines. So like that was always really helpful. Um, yeah, I mean, it wasn't like a goal to be in the sector that I'm in right now, but I really hit my stride with it, and
Yeah.
it was a way to combine something that I'm passionate about with my everyday job, because as a publicist, it's really grueling. Like it's a lot of work. It's 24/7, like, you know, meeting like reporters' deadlines, dealing with clients that are, you know, not so easy.
Yeah.
I definitely am lucky right now. I have some pretty incredible clients. But some are not so great. And it's demanding because I also work with a lot of startups and founders, and like their companies are their babies. So
Yeah. So like freaking out over
yeah. So when you're able to do something that you really love, um, it helps.
how many hours a week do you work?
I mean, and it's never ending. It's
Really?
ridiculous. Yeah,
Like-
I don't even know.
Are you working on the weekends too? Like, or
Sometimes I actually really, a lot of times, and this is so bad, and I don't recommend that anybody does this, but I like to get ahead of things.
really?
I'll usually take a couple hours on a Sunday to like do stuff, or to, have emails going out like timed. So I'll
Yeah.
like write the email and then have
Like
it.
schedule something for the
Yeah.
morning. Yeah.
I like to, so that my Mondays are not so intense, because
Yeah.
I also have kids. There's just like a lot going on. So I try to do that, which is not very healthy. But yeah, I mean, it's, to be totally honest, like I try to steer a lot of young people away from it.
Really?
Yeah, it's also not for everyone. Like I do firmly believe that when it comes to PR, like you either got it or you don't.
Mm.
And if you don't have it, it's going to be a really hard road.
And how do you know if you have it?
I mean, if you're a good salesman, right?
Interesting.
Like, to quote Tommy Boy, like, I could sell a ketchup hot dog to a woman in white gloves. And wait, that wasn't even it. No, I could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. That was the line. But it's true. Like I can sell things. I can sell things to media. I can sell things to clients. I can really, push it and make people come over to my side. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
That's also okay. Like, you don't have to be that way. You can pick a different fields. And there are parts of my profession that are very, like, more doing, like, account work as opposed to, like, hustling.
Mm.
But I think, yeah, like, what makes a good publicist is your ability to get people to like you,
Mm.
your ability to get people to accept what you're giving them. There's a lot of schmoozing that can be, especially for people that are very introverted, that can be a lot. I mean, you always have to have your game face on, whether
Yeah.
you're producing an event or, taking an editor out, or a journalist out. It's a lot. You're interfacing with clients. Like, it's a grind, and it's not for everybody. What
Yeah.
those people, I'm like, you probably should not do this because it's just going to be miserable.
Yeah. And for those people who like do want to do it and you do see those things that they're like extroverted, that they're able to be charismatic and like can, handle maybe they thrive off that, like always talking to people and trying to just like put on a front. What how do they get into PR?
Well, I mean, typically, they hear about it, and it's, or they know someone, or I think honestly, Sex in the City really like kickstarted that for like a lot of people. Um, but honestly, like back in the day, PR was predominantly men.
Wild.
It was very like, they called them like spin doctors and like dumb shit like that, or like flacks. And,
Yeah.
they were not known to be good people. Um, and all that kind of changed with people like, Kelly Catrone and, Lizzie Grubman, really those badass women. Leslie Sloan, like there's so many that kind of came in and were like, you know what, as women do, we can do this better.
Yeah.
And they did. And they were just as shrewd and cunning and terrifying as men, but like they were powerhouses, and I had the pleasure of being mentored by Kelly Catrone. I worked for her for years. And like she is incredible. Again, can sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. Like it's inspiring and also terrifying. But like, she puts on her game face and she just like does it. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think other women started to see that, or young women started to see that. We're like, yeah, I want to do that too. They started having like shows, like Lizzie Redman's company was like Power Girls, was like this reality show. Kelly had, Kel on Earth. There were things like The Hills and The City that were around, PR firms and stuff like that. So I think like that's why, it is the way it is. But there is a problem too that I hope will start to have more of a reckoning. And
Mm.
there's a lot of systemic racism in PR. There's not a lot of Black women or like women of color in PR. Um, and it's because, back in the day, obviously PR, especially like when I was coming in, did not pay a lot.
Yeah.
So parents had to subsidize. What type of parents do you think can afford?
Rich white parents. Yeah.
Exactly. Sending their rich little white girls to New York City,
Really
and
suffered out a few years.
yeah, and like giving them money. Cause like, I mean, I sure as hell wasn't going to be able to afford my apartment. My first roommate and we split our apartment. We were each paying like $1,100, but each paycheck was like $375.
Yeah.
I could not afford that. And so like, I had to have help from my parents.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how it was. And so it kind of blocked out a lot of people. It was mostly like little rich white girls and the gays.
Yeah.
That was, it's starting to turn. There are starting to be more women of color who are incredible. My old boss, Melissa, like she's a Black woman and she's partner at one of the most successful PR agencies and she's killing it. And she's really getting young women of color, to pay attention and to want to be involved and actively pursuing them to come and work with her,
Yeah.
or work at PR agencies, because you need to have representation at every level,
Yeah.
it needs to be everywhere. Um, and it's important now more than ever because, especially Black female owned brands are shuttering their doors. They're not, getting support. They're definitely not getting investments.
Yeah.
Most, I mean, women owned companies largely don't get investments the way that male owned
Really?
is doing.
Like just straight up.
Yeah, it's terrible. But yeah, uh, that's kind of how people get into PR. You hear about it. You have like, friends who graduate who go into it. It's highly,
And then they help
highly
you get a
important.
job or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I went to the University of Georgia, and I've helped quite a bit of these like young women get jobs in PR because they're PR majors,
Yeah.
whatever, and they reach out to me on LinkedIn. I gave a talk for them last year, so it kind of like happens that way too. And people they see it and they think it's like super glamorous. It's not. There's some cool aspects. Like I've met a lot of celebrities and I've been to tons of fashion shows and events and all that stuff, but it's a grind for sure. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, people probably just see it like Sex in the City. They're like, oh, you just get all this glamorous stuff, and then you just like you're working your 40 hours a week and clocking out, and like no, because like people are always probably going through crises.
Always. There's always a crisis, which is just like wild. 'Cause I'm like, this is definitely not a crisis. But yeah,
Like you will be fine. You will get through this.
you'll get through this. It'll be okay. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I think PR is a great thing. I think that, brands need it. Um, but yeah, it takes a certain kind of person to be a publicist. Like I would not recommend it for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
What would be like your biggest advice then to someone who wants to go into PR?
Don't. I'm just kidding. Honestly, find a good mentor.
Mm.
That's really important. Like find, a boss or an older colleague to really help you navigate it. Make friends in PR. Like it's really important to be able to commiserate. It's harder now than when I was coming up because there's a lot of remote work.
Yeah.
Like we all, two of my best friends in the world I met at People's Revolution because we were like commiserating together. We would all work like crazy and then we would all go out after.
Yeah.
That doesn't really happen anymore, but like you need that. Like you need that camaraderie. It's really important to get you through and to be able to, bounce ideas, consult with each other. Like, 3 of my best friends are publicists and oftentimes like will consult for me if I need help or they'll jump in and it's great. Like I belong to a really amazing network of publicists now too. We all help each other all the time. Like I think that that's like one of the most important things is to like get your, kind of like tribe of publicists to help you, or you're going to drown.
Interesting.
So I think like that's really important. And I think in terms of like when you get in PR, realizing that it's okay to walk away from that job if it's getting to be too much. There are definitely agencies where the people that are running them are mean and cruel, mean girls, and they just want to burn you out and they don't care and you're totally disposable. Do not stay at those places. Nothing's going to happen if you leave. Like no one's going to go like, slander you or like whatever. Those days are long gone. And just know that like you should not be abused.
Yeah.
Like that should not be tolerated. Like getting blown up in the middle of the night by your boss or like getting hammered on Slack or like if they get you on the phone, just like ripping you to shreds. No, unacceptable. Unacceptable. Get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also like really interning, do a lot of internships, when you're in college, so that you can find out the kind of PR that you do like and the kind of PR that you don't like and go for that.
It just seems like you jumped around a lot, and was just because like, you went into it, like, newly out of college, so you kind of almost said you're like, internships is like real jobs, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I had internships, but
They're journalists.
they were journalism or advertising and
Yeah.
stuff. I really had no idea what PR was. I was clueless.
Yeah.
And I liked every walk of life in PR that I have done, I've enjoyed. Um, but yeah, I mean, it took years for me to find out what I'm really like, what I'm really good at. And it's because I have a vested interest.
Yeah.
You know, it makes a big difference. But yeah, I wish I had had, you know, the experiences that the young women that I mentor have of like going and getting these like good internships and really like understanding what you're getting into.
Yeah.
I think that's like really important is to get internships and really experience it.
And then I guess if not, if they do a year path, they just like figure it out through changing jobs. And
Yeah, I mean, publicists move around a lot.
okay.
It is rare for a publicist to stay at a job for a really, really long time. Except honestly, the company that I'm at now, a lot of people there are lifers.
That's
Like
crazy.
it's a really good company.
Yeah.
But like it's been there for like 10 plus years. And I'm like, that's like unheard of nowadays.
That's crazy.
Yeah, most publicists, you know, you jump around a lot. That's also how you make more money in PR.
Mm.
You know, like that's actually how you make
coaching.
more. Yeah. And it's like it's also just like I think how most people make more money is going other places, you know. Moving from one job to the next, you're always going to get like a pay raise, you know, or most of the time. Or like, why would you leave your current job?
Yeah.
You're not going to leave your current job to get paid less.
Yeah.
But when you're there at the company, it's harder to make more and more money because, you know, they don't like, give raises that often or they don't give big raises. It's, you know, kind of more of an incremental thing. So yeah, that's like one of the other parts of it is moving around.
Wild.
Yeah.
Huh. So interesting. And what would be some of your advice to just like young adults in general? Like not even in PR, just like people just or even just people who are trying to figure it out. What would be your advice to them?
This is not going to be very PC of me, but for this generation in particular,
Yeah.
stop being so whiny. Fuck up. Stop sitting there and taking all of these, you know, multiple mental health days all the time. Like work is taxing. Any job you have is going to be tough. Like stop whining, stop doing all that stuff. Like fuck up. Obviously, don't tolerate people treating you like crap, but like I feel like it is constant with, you know, Gen Z of like just I don't know if y'all were babied too much or what, but it's brutal and it drives your managers
Do
crazy.
you find that in a lot of like interns and young people at your work?
I've done a pretty good job at this point of spotting young women and men who are going to be tough and who
Yeah.
are going to really like do the work. You know, so it hasn't been my experience directly, but I see it with other people. And I am just like, it's, you know, I don't know, like it's a job. Like stop expecting it to be something other than that. And like also like if you're not putting in the effort, if you're not doing the work, like you're never going to move forward. I just it is mind numbing to me. And like also like the level of entitlement too. Like I hear all the time that I have a college degree. Okay. Okay. You know, it's just I think like my advice to young people is like show them what you got. Like put in the work. You know, stop calling in sick all the time. Stop whining about stuff. Like just like do it. You know, it's really off-putting. And like I'm sure this is gonna like bite me in the ass and people are gonna hear me say this, but like I'm sorry, like it is what it is. It drives your managers insane and we don't trust you.
Yeah.
Like if I don't have a team that I can trust, like how am I also ever supposed to take a break?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to go on vacation if I don't believe that like my team is gonna be there holding it down? And that's this generation, that's what you guys tend to put forth is that you're not going to be reliable. Is that you're not going to show up. Um, it's I would just, yeah, my advice is like buck up and like give it
Yeah.
110%.
And it's interesting you say that because like we had, at least in our architecture school, we had like a teacher or advisor email us, and he emailed it to like all of the people he had, and it was like he sent us 2 articles, and it was like how Gen Zers constantly whine about jobs, and he was like how Gen Zers need to toughen up. And he emailed, he's like, just so you guys know, like you getting jobs, like you need to like suck it up and just work. And we were all like, you what? We were like, you just emailed us that, but we were like, I guess it is a problem. Like,
It's a huge problem.
yeah,
It's a huge problem. There's been like a lot of articles that have come out over the years of like, Gen Z's like parents getting involved
yeah,
and stuff, or like going to like interviews with them, or like calling their bosses, like, oh, you're working my kid too hard. It's like, dude, what?
yeah, it's a
Like,
job.
I mean, look, like I said, you don't need to like put yourself in a situation where you're getting abused. Like I went through that. I had like shit thrown at me by bosses. Like it's was wild, wild.
You're like, how'd you get the buck out? My boss, or I would have been like, oh, okay, sounds about right. Go home.
I was actually like really good at like ducking, but I would get chewed out. I would get fired for nothing, like
Oh
just
my
crazy
god.
stuff. And so like that's not good. You don't want to do that, but it's made me a better boss. I do not do that to my staff.
Oh, that's
Like,
great.
no, I mean, I really try. When I do get like terse with them, they're like it's always a shock.
Yeah.
I try to not, you know, um,
Physically
traumatize.
assault your employees.
I definitely don't physically assault people. And I try not to traumatize
Yeah.
them. But yeah, like I said, I just, you got to do the work. You got to put it in. Like it sucks, but that's how it is. And I really hope that, Gen Z really figures that out, because it's going to be even tougher as you get older.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be interesting to see what Gen Alpha is going to.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like 10 times worse. They just become like little like hobbles like on their phone.
I know. I mean, we've gotten really hard on the kids, like no iPads.
Yeah.
The addiction is strong. It really, really is. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Like it's wild being on like the trains or the subway and everyone's on their phones, and you're like, and it was when I was in Europe, it's different. Everyone's reading books. Like some people on their phones, but they're reading books. I'm like, what did we do?
Yeah, no, it's really bad. I actually noticed that the other day on the
Yeah.
subway. I don't take the subway as much as I should, because probably gonna get assaulted.
Right.
Like, but yeah, I noticed that the other day. I was like looking around, and every single person's head was down in their phone,
Yeah.
and I was like, "This is wild." I've actually started bringing a book with me in a bag, and I read a book on the train. It also keeps me more alert. Like
Yeah.
when I'm like ingrained in my phone, like I can almost miss my stop. Like it's very, yeah, it's tough. It's really tough. Yeah, people got to get off their phones.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out if whatever happens in these next few years when all the people start aging out. Like, what is the new generation's work going to be like, or like
Yeah.
jobs?
I mean, I hope that my generation is doing a better job than the previous generation.
Yeah.
Gen X. Of raising babies and like doing, really pushing our kids. But there are a lot of I just read an article the other day that there's like parents that are not reading to their kids at night. They're showing them friggin' videos.
That's
crazy. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That I actually started, because Drummond can read now. I make my oldest. I make him read the bedtime story to Julius. Because it's A, it's like me a break, and B, it's helping him read.
Yeah.
And his brother actually pays attention more when he's reading than when I'm reading.
That makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
So
Well, cool. Well, it was a pleasure having you today. That was all my questions. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, and hopefully someone learned something about PR. Maybe a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, not doing that anymore." Awkward.
yeah. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't always recommend it, but we definitely, like I said, there's some big changes that need to happen in PR, and so I hope that people do go in and really make things happen and support brands that really need it.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.